Oshio. Now where did I put that? Oh, there they are. My old specs. I wanted to share a thought with you. You know, you've heard of the expression, home is where the heart is. We've all heard this. We have used that expression often ourselves. And, you know, I mean, you just think, you know, how that when we've been off somewhere, you know, just different places, you know, different states or wherever. Sorry if the camera keeps wiggling around. It's Gimli, the four-legged boy. Got black fur all over him, yeah. So, anyway, you know, you get what we call homesick, and you miss home and things, you know, and there's places that make you kind of feel at home and stuff, you know. But, you know, this is, I mean, it's like here, where I'm at right now, this is home. Only in one sense. You know, but this is the problem. We get to thinking on a general line, and we kind of get stuck there. And we think, well, this is our home and whatever, you know, and we love our home and etc., etc. And so we get wrapped up into different other things. Well, I mean, when you think about it, we do. You know, and this message, this thought is not just for you, it's for me. Why do we do this? Why do we have this tendency to stay on that general line of thought that this is our home, when actually we're supposed to be just travelers, you know, strangers. Here on this earth, we're supposed to be just strangers, not partakers to sit down and be at camp at ease, you know. No. And have you ever stopped to ask yourself, why are you so caught up, you know, into things like, alright, just for example, alright, for instance, you know, like on the latest things, the latest fads, the trends, alright, we have this nasty tendency, and we do, like the latest iPad, iPod, the latest phone. It has newer things. We have one phone, but it's not good enough. We got to have the next thing that comes out. And this is why commercials, you know, the media and everything make it sound like what you have is not good enough. You know, you have to have more. The latest video games, the latest phones, the latest television technology. We are too much at home here when this is not supposed to be our home. That is, if you claim to be a Christian. If I or you profess to be Christians, why are we acting like this is our home? It is not. Here's something I want to read to you, give you some thought. Now, in 2 Timothy chapter 3, it says, "But know this," verse 1, "but know this, that in the last days perilous times will come." And we see it. And yet, with all these things going on, for some reason, we're just still caught up into everything, right? For men, now listen to this, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money. Is this hitting home anywhere? Is it hitting on my doorstep? Yours? Boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving. Think about it. Oh yes, by all means, I will forget. I'll never forget what they've done, and vengeance and things. But when I go to God, I ask Him to forgive me. Why should He forgive you or me if we don't forgive from our hearts others when they do us wrong? Okay, slanderers. This is verse 3. Without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, and you get a lot of that. Traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power, and from such people turn away. Think about it. Think about home, Christians, where our hearts are supposed to be. Our hearts and our thoughts are supposed to be on above. The Bible tells us this. But yet we're what? I just read it. Read that whole chapter. Read all of 1st and 2nd Timothy. But in 1st Timothy he says, now the Spirit expressly says that in latter times some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines, teachings of demons, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their own conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from foods. And you get a lot of nutcases out there that still does this today, and commanding to abstain from foods which God created to be deceived with thanksgiving by those who believe and know the truth. Alright, that was 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. So why something's wrong, you know? Something is seriously wrong with us. You listen to these preachers who get out and talk about money and everything and carrying on and making a business. You know, I could name a whole bunch of them. And I have a right, according to biblical standards and the teachings of the apostles, I have a right to judge them by the fruits that they bear. You, as a Christian, if you're really a Christian, have the right to judge. What goes on our outside does not concern us. It's what's on the inside, in the family, so to speak. And these people who once had it, but now they've fallen away, they were good fruit, and so to speak, and they started becoming rotten. Now they're just rotten to the core. But anyway, you get them who start making you also feel at home in this world by going into all kinds of things about, have money, be better, and do this and stuff. They have all kinds of gimmicks and things, and yet we accept them and call them godly. There's nothing godly about them. If you call them godly, you're deceived. But my whole point is, we're too much at home here. We just want to have better things, more money, a better, more important job that will make us better, have more. And people to look to us, look up at us, so we can look down on them, and on and on and on. And there's different other kinds of motives we have. But why aren't we thinking of home? Home is where the heart is. So if our heart is set here, then our heart is not set there. And, I mean, that's only common sense, correct? You know, I don't want to be caught up into things. I don't want to get caught up into, oh, I gotta have the latest laptop, I gotta have the latest TV, I gotta have the latest iPhone or iPad. You know, one day soon, with the events that's unfolding in the world, which is according to Bible prophecy, you will find yourself here without those things. You know, the thing is, you're gonna, or maybe even before that, some event, something will happen to you that's gonna put you in a place where you're not gonna have those things, and then what? If your house burned down today, or a storm hit it, or whatever, just for example, would you weep and boo-hoo over the things that was lost? Would you not rather be thankful for what you have now, that what God has given you and what He's blessed and kept you alive? Where is our hearts? This is a good question. You know, a lot of people, you know, they're so wrapped up into things. We all tend to get wrapped up, and next thing you know, you're caught. You know, you're caught in a trap, and there's no getting out, so to speak. You're just trapped. Jesus was talking about stewards and things, you know, about who is the good steward, so to speak, that where He leaves him in charge of the household, where, you know, he's to see to the others' needs and stuff until the head of the house comes back, because he's going away for a while. All right, the question, you know, that he was trying to point out, he says, will they still be faithful? Will they, or will they just get, well, you know, carried away and get right, well, he's not coming back, you know, it's going to be a while. And so, you know, you got comfortable with things, and then this, are you going to be like that, you know, and then you're caught, what? This is a good question we have to ask ourselves. Are we at home here and staying on that general path, that line of thought, or we just really strangers, pilgrims, travelers? We're just here for a little bit. This is not our home. And let me just say that Jesus warned, and He says that He warned them about many false prophets and things, and that, you know, that we could even be deceived, that there's the possibility of deception for the elect. There's that possibility. And here we get comfortable, and we start listening to these people that already fell into that place, and they're dragging us into it. Think of it like this: you know, a person who's found life, they came out of the most miserable situation in their life, and they found life with Jesus, and then all of a sudden, no more than they just found it, someone who once had it and fell away, but yet with the appearance that they still have something, drags them down into a pit where it's worse than before. If you listen to these people out there, there's a lot of them on YouTube and on television. If you start listening to them instead of setting your heart on God and on heaven, you know, if you start listening to them, you have made your abode here. And unfortunately, you know, you or I, if we start doing that, then where does that leave us? If we do this, if we start listening to them and being comfortable. And, you know, you need to ask yourself, what is important to you? What is important to me? Is it God? Or is it the latest iPad, iPhone, to catch up with the latest trends, the latest clothes wear, who's hip? Oh, I gotta watch the next show. I'm gonna miss my show. I gotta have the next game. And you're wrapped up in it. And then when someone confronts you with it because they're concerned for you, not nitpicking, but concerned, and then you feel threatened and challenged, and you know, and you start getting the hackles up, and you sit there and you get mad at them and making excuses, and that's what it is. That's what happens. Then why? Because you're at home here, not there. You have not had your heart set on what is above. If I do this and you do that, then there is a problem with us. So the question is, where is home? Where is your home? Where is my home? I'm not talking about the house that you live in. That's just a shelter, a temporary dwelling. And we need to start getting that in our heads, to drill it in there, to be aware of this, because the spirit of the air, the Bible talks about it, which is the devil and his host, deceives us. And we start listening and getting drawn in like a black hole. We get sucked in. So the question is, my friends, my brothers and sisters in Christ, are we getting caught up in the things when we should not? Are we lovers of pleasure instead of the lovers of God? You know, are we ones who are guilty of just having some kind of form of godliness, but we deny the power of God by our actions? We read those words, but we don't really consider it. You know, the power of God is not, I'm just going to use this for example. Hagee. You know, John Hagee, I think his name is. You know, he can speak real good. And there's others out there that does too. I'm just trying to drive a point. But anyone who speaks well, and that's what they rely on, it's not the power of God. Read the whole New Testament and find out about the power of God. But are we denying it by our actions? Are we relying more on ourselves? There we go, you know, you can rely on big speeches, fancy words and stuff, but our actions and tell on us. And then we get mad at the outsiders, the people who don't believe, because they criticize Christians. Yeah, you know, they criticize God. And, you know, yeah, there should be an anger in your heart over it, but why do you want to take it out on them? We should be looking at ourselves and taking it out on ourselves, so to speak, by examining ourselves at the point, or you know, we got comfortable, made ourselves home here, and then these people, they don't see the power of God because we're too at home. I see a lot of people think the gifts of God and stuff are, you know, like the Bible talks about, are outdated. You know, and because there's none of that going on, and you got to have this and that. You know, the reason why they don't have it is because they're too much at home. And they don't have faith, like the one who, like the disciples, when they was out on the water and the storm was coming, and then the boat looked like it was sinking, and it looked terrible, and they cried out to Jesus, you know, save us, help us. And then what happened? Jesus rebuked the storm, and they're all dumbfounded. And then he turns around and he said, why are you afraid? where is your faith? So that is the question, where is it? We're set into things. And people rely too much on things instead of on God, but you will be tested one day. We will all be tested, and we will be put in that situation where the question is going to come right down to it, where is your faith? But the power of God, even the miracles and the gifts and things, the reason why you don't see those is because people's hearts are too much here and not there, and they're just focused on that one thing, and they can't believe, they can't see, they haven't been tested, they've been comfortable sitting, you know, in the land of promise, so to speak, getting fat, becoming fat cats. And then like the Israelites, what had happened, they, you know, it didn't just happen overnight, but it sure seems like it when you read the Old Testament. But things started creeping in, and people started accepting the trends of the other nations and what they were doing, and that's what we're doing today, and it has to stop. You would see miracles. Not talking about you don't go looking and searching for them. They follow when our hearts are right. The reason why we don't receive things when we ask for God, when we ask God to do things for us, is because our hearts are set on things here, not abiding in His Word, abide in Him. There is a condition. A lot of people don't read the fine print, so to speak. There is a condition. They see it, and the fine print is quite bold, but for some it seems like little print to them. And so you got to read. If we're abiding in Him, then what? These things will follow. These things will happen when we ask. If we're pleasing Him, we can have. Because if we're pleasing Him, we'll be looking to Him, wanting to do what's pleasing to Him, what is right to Him, not to us. What's pleasing ourselves. So this is what we got to understand, and I could go on and on and on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take so much time. But where is your heart? Where is mine? Are we too much at home here? Is this where we really have set our heart and our hopes and things? Is in the things here instead of there? Where we're stingy about the money, who we help, because we're too worried and concerned about what we have and how much more we can have, instead of being like what the apostle said, with food and clothing. With these things, I will be content, because godliness with contentment is great gain. So, are you contented just to have food, or, clothes on your back, just a roof over your head? Whether, whatever that roof looks like. And you criticize people for the way if they don't have fancy clothes, if they don't have a fancy house or a fancy car. Shame on you. Your heart is not in heaven. You do not abide in Christ. If I do that, my heart does not abide in Christ. I got to examine myself and look, and you do too. So the question is, where is your heart? It's not about us, but that's the way it's become. We got to sit in church where it's all fancy. Think about it. Where is your heart? Are you at home? Think about it. Shalom. God bless you. Live for Him. Let us be pilgrims here, okay? Shalom, man. I hope.